The gaming industry grows year after year and more money is spent on it than ever, and it is almost solely responsible by one thing: microtransactions. While part of it can be attributed to gaming's growth in popularity, there's no doubt that microtransactions are the big money makers. As I mentioned in my previous video about multiplayer games, in 2020, microtransactions made up 88% of digital game spending. In honor of microtransactions constantly being designed into $70 video games, I decided to take a look at some of the most unbelievable cases of microtransactions in video games. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the madness. Some of these are perhaps not technically microtransactions as much as there are in-game purchases, but it's kind of in the same vein. So just let me get away with it this time, okay? In 2007, World of Warcraft was one of the biggest games on the planet. Back then the game was still fairly challenging with vast open PvP areas, something that is more or less abandoned in the newer versions of retail World of Warcraft, but back when world PvP was the big thing to do and rare items were, well, you know, rare and almost unobtainable, a notorious rogue player named Suzu decided to sell their account. The account included the rogue itself, the legendary and incredibly rare sword set Twin Blades of Asenath, and a bunch of high-end gear, making it one of the best geared rogues in the world. Apparently the buyer had contacted the original owner of Suzu and continuously offered more and more money until he accepted a price of 7,000 euros or $9,500. The sale back then was big news. It was also big news in mainstream media, and the owner got to enjoy the best geared rogue in the game. For a bit at least, because as you might know if you've ever owned an account on any gaming service, selling accounts is frowned upon and often against the rules, so as the account all of a sudden ceased to show activity, the most common theory is that it got banned shortly after the sale for real world trading reasons. It didn't help that the owner was part of one of the biggest guilds in the game and, you know, publicly admitted to selling it, which was directly against the terms of service. Also in 2007, another interesting in-game purchase was made in the somewhat popular Second Life game. That's essentially an online role-playing game or a sort of interactive chat room, much in the genre of Habbo Hotel or Club Penguin for adults. In the game, the popular map of Amsterdam, which essentially was a recreation of the Dutch capital, was put up for auction, and one player swooped in and bought it for nothing less than $50,000. What exactly the map can be used for I'm not really sure about, but for that price I really hope the owner can rent out some virtual buildings or do some advertisings to gain back some of the money. In Counter-Strike, skins are the equivalent of penis size, and in the measuring contest nothing beats having an incredibly rare skin. As I touched on in my CSGO gambling video, some skins sell for thousands of dollars, and in March of 2023, one of the most expensive skins ever was sold for a whopping $160,000. This was the AK-47 Wild Lotus, and it was bought by a Chinese collector, and the reason it's so expensive is because it has 4 recent holo stickers from the Katowice 2014 collection, which are some of the most rare stickers in the game. The AK is not the most expensive skin in the game though. That belongs to a Karambit case hardened skin that was bought for $100,000 in 2016, and while the skin hasn't been sold since, the owner has turned down an offer of $1.2 million and the skin is estimated to be worth around $2 million. And with Counter-Strike 2 coming up and every single skin being ported onto that game, I'm sure that price will only go up from here. Star Citizen is an incredibly popular space simulator that has made records with its crowdfunding venture. The game has raised over $500 million so far, and even though it was originally projected to release at some point, it has been in development for 10 years, and so far there's no release date in sight. But anyone who has backed the game, a number which now is set at over 4 million people, has the ability to play the early access version, and all it requires is for you to purchase a virtual ship on the website and you're good to go. Some of these ships, however, can become quite expensive, and the most expensive package that was available to players was the Legatus package, which was priced at $27,000. This package included every ship available at the time that it was available, and with it you were sure to be able to keep playing even if your ships were destroyed by space pirates. Curiosity was the brainchild of the acclaimed video game creator Peter Molyneux. It was essentially a social experiment that required people to chip away at a block, 1 pixel at a time, until ultimately one person would be the winner that found out what hit within the block. In order to chip away more pixels at a time, players could buy virtual chisels, with the most expensive one being sold for around £50,000. It's not public information whether or not anyone ever bought it, or how many people bought any variety of the chisels in the game. It is rumored to have funded his project Goddess, which ended up failing horribly. Curiosity itself was won by a person named Brian Henderson, and the winner was promised the role of God in the Goddess game, as well as a cut of the revenue from that game. But so far, the winner seemingly hasn't received anything for his effort. So just hope that he didn't spend any money on virtual chisels. While I have already done a video on the successful video game Diablo Immortal, I just wanted to revisit the beauty of its monetization. Diablo Immortal, the free-to-play mobile version of Blizzard's beloved franchise, supposedly required a whopping $500,000 investment if players wanted to max out their characters using the in-game shop. A number that will more than likely just grow and grow the more content is added to the game. There's no wonder that the game raked in around $100 million in the first 8 weeks and continues to rake in millions for Blizzard. So while we may have laughed at them at that god-awful BlizzCon announcement, they're really the ones who are laughing now. And lastly, we have a few items from the popular sci-fi space opera MMO Entropia Universe, which, as far as I understand, is a sort of sci-fi MMO version of Second Life in a sense, but with more MMO features and with an economy that is linked to real-world currency. So the game has a direct currency conversion from in-game money to real-life dollars. It allows its players to buy and sell virtual goods and acts more like a economic simulator than anything really. So it's no surprise that it has the most expensive in-game purchases of all time in any game. In 2009, a real-life entrepreneur saw an investment opportunity unlike many others you'd encounter. Crystal Palace Space Station was a popular space station orbiting planet Calypso, the in-game planet, and it ended up selling for a whopping $330,000. The insane amount might sound like a lot, but according to several experts in the game, the buyer made back the amount within a couple of years and probably made a lot of money by now from his investment. The ownership was in 2018 made into a land deeds model, so the space station was split into 500,000 shares which the public could buy. So all these different shares of property was sold off to the players of Entropia Universe. Then we have Club Never Die, which was a nightclub in an asteroid located outside of planet Calypso. The nightclub was incredibly popular in-game, and it was a very profitable resort for its owner. The asteroid was originally purchased by John Never Die Jacobs in 2005 for $100,000. It featured 20 large biodomes for hunting and mining, a shopping area with 66 shops, 1,000 apartments and 58 teleporters to teleport you around the asteroid. When John Jacobs bought the virtual property in 2005, it broke all records for buying virtual items. The investment turned out to be a good one, and Club Never Die generated over $50,000 in income in its first 5 months and continued to become more and more profitable month after month, often netting in around $15,000 a month. The club was eventually sold in 2010 for a whopping $635,000, giving John Jacobs an insane profit and becoming the record holder of one of the most expensive virtual items ever sold. Now lastly, I mentioned planet Calypso a few times, and that is a planet that is located in the world of Entropia Universe, which was where Never Die and Crystal Palace was orbiting. Planet Calypso was put up for sale by the developer of the game, and as you've probably figured out by now, owning your own planet means that you can sell a lot of land for properties and make a ton of money. The company SEE Virtual Worlds also saw the potential in owning their own planet, and they decided to purchase Planet Calypso for a staggering amount, $6 million. While that sounds insane, there's no telling how much money they eventually ended up making, selling lots on it bit by bit, literally. That's all I have for this video. I hope you all enjoyed this little view into a world that a lot of us probably don't really see that often, because most of us can't even imagine paying these types of prices for things. But as you could see, at least in some of the examples, you could even make money off these opportunities, and in other situations, well, at least you're having fun playing a video game. Let me know if there are any of these purchases that surprised you, and if there's anything you'd like me to cover in the future. Please consider leaving a like or subscribing, it helps so much more than you think it does. Also consider sharing this with your friends, and just thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.